Councillor Wynne, you are live.
Thank you. Before this public meeting begins, I would like to advise the public of the following. This is a meeting to host public meetings on matters requiring approval under the Planning Act. During the meeting, there will be an opportunity for questions and answers from committee and the public. Before we begin, members of the public are advised that if a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin before the decision, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Further, if a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin before the decision, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Those wanting to be notified of Council's decision on any application should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which meeting they wish to be notified on and provide their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. We'll call this meeting to order. This is a public hearing as required by the Planning Act to hear the applicant Ashley and Isaac Brown and every other person who desires to be heard in favor of or against the application for a minor variance or permission from the zoning bylaw respecting 268 Francis Street. Do any members of the committee have a disclosure of interest concerning this application? I'm hearing none. If the applicant or agent is listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you have called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. We will acknowledge your raised hand and you can unmute to explain the application. Are Ashley or Isaac on the in the meeting with us right now?
Yes, this is Ashley. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Ashley. Can you please give us an explanation as to why you require this application?
We are looking to build a 3-car garage because we are looking to rebuild our house and remove our basement. I guess back in February when the creek started to flood, the sewers on our street started to back up a little bit. And Central Elgin had to send a plow down our street to move the water around. So we figured while we're building the garage, we might as well just take the next step in our plans. So we figured to remove the basement, and we thought that that would be a good idea to do. We're looking for the space for our children and to have something for them for their future, as well as for storage for boats, bikes, kayaks, because we live in a beach town.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Wilson, what method of notice and when was notice given to the public for this hearing? Is Mrs. Wilson there?
Apologies, Madam Chair.
No problem.
As per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 60 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on September the 9th, 2022. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff as well as the municipal website, and notice was displayed in the weekly CE Buzz advertisement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McClure, do you have any comments to add to this application?
Nothing further to the report.
Thank you. Are there any comments from municipal staff with regards to this application? Seeing and hearing none. Mrs. Wilson, have you received any written submissions on this application?
Madam Chair, no correspondence has been received.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee have any questions with regards to this application? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Perrin, do we have any members of the public waiting?
Yes, Madam Chair, there's Brian Carra.
Sorry?
Brian Carra is in attendance.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carra, do you have questions that, for the applicant or for staff with regards to this application?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, and sorry, Mr. Carra, could you just state your full name and your address, please, for the committee?
Yes, it's Brian with a Y, Currah, C-U-R-R-A-H.
And your address?
57 Terrace Street, London,
Okay,
and I'm their agent. I was trying to, I hit the raise your hand, but I see that the owner handled it on her own, so
you
I'll just
did
sit
very
back. I don't,
well.
that's right. No, so I have no questions at all. No.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Carra. And Mr. Perrin, I'll just double check and make sure there is nobody else other than Mr. Carra.
Seeing none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. It seems everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard. Is the committee ready to make a decision? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Wilson, could you please take the vote?
Councillor Rowe? Yes. Councillor Cravitz?
Yes.
Councillor Cook?
Yes.
Councillor Fair?
Yes.
Councillor Wynne?
Yes.
I don't see Deputy Mayor Marks in attendance, and Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Granted.
Thank you very much. So this application has been granted. Those wanting to be notified of the committee's decision on any application should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and provide their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. This meeting is now adjourned.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment meeting. This public meeting is required by the Planning Act to afford any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment respecting Eagle Ridge Phase 2 on lands municipally known as all of Block 74, part of Block 75, Plan 11M-242, Municipality of Central Elgin. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning this proposal? Seeing and hearing none. What method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
Madam Mayor, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 120 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on August the 27th of 2022. Notice was posted to the municipal website and notice was displayed in the weekly CE Buzz advertisements.
Thank you. Ms. McClure, our planner, I'm going to call on you now to present the proposed plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will just share my screen. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. As has been, I guess, presented, this is a combined public meeting for a draft plan of subdivision, official plan amendment, and zoning bylaw amendment for Eagle Ridge Phase 2. The location of the subject lands are shown on the screen as south of Southdale Line and west of Sunset Drive. The area indicated in the yellow is the area that takes up the Phase 2, and the rest of the lines that you can see on the screen represent the first phase of the draft plan of subdivision. The draft plan of subdivision is proposing the construction or development of 66 lots for single detached dwellings, is proposing to bring forward 2 new streets, Street C and D, a block for a walkway, Block 67, blocks for reserves, 68 through 73, and open space blocks 74 through 76. One thing to note, as part of the Phase 2, the upper kind of portion of lands that is kind of where my cursor are now are new lands that were proposed through this draft plan of subdivision phase as part of the overall lot development plan that was presented in the first phase. These land holdings weren't owned by the applicant at that time, so now they're being brought forward as part of this application. And as can be seen on the screen, this is the location and proposed layout of Phase 2. And to facilitate the development, a draft official plan amendment is also required to change the natural heritage and natural hazard to residential. For the purposes of the amendment, what you can see on the screen from a 2015 aerial photo and a 2020 aerial photo, these lands, kind of where my cursor are and down in here, were designated natural heritage and natural hazard. And as part of the overall, I guess, first phase development plan, an environmental impact study was approved by council and supported by county council that I guess was included in the draft conditions for Phase 1. And ultimately, what can be seen on the screen now was the recommendations of that EIS, and this blue line is what was recommended as the development limit. So as part of those previous approvals, I'm not too sure why the official plan wasn't updated, but this is essentially a means to clean up the previous approvals in the official plan. And I guess to note, if this is to be supported by council at an upcoming council meeting, it is the recommendation of staff that a resolution be passed by council to have this forwarded on to the county as a council requested modification to the approved or adopted official plan. As of right now, this would be just an amendment to the in effect and force official plan, the 2013 official plan, and we would want to see this reflected in the new official plan if approved. So the amendment itself, again, showing the area that would be subject to the amendment itself. And then this brings us to the details of the amendment, essentially being a change to Schedule E to the official plan, being the Schedule E community of Norman Lindale. And essentially what that would be doing is redesignating the lands from natural heritage and natural hazard to residential. So as can be seen on the screen, this is the Schedule E, and the locations that are actually being changed from the residential and natural hazard are these kind of highlighted areas along the periphery of the phase 2. And this then brings us to the draft zoning bylaw amendment. So ultimately, the entirety of the this kind of phase 2 more or less was zoned the HR1-81 through the previous phase 1 approvals. However, due to the reconstruction or the construction of the stormwater management pond, there is a bit of a reconfiguration at the one corner that would be including the already approved R1-81 zone, which essentially just allows for single residential development, and these new lands that are up in the, I guess, the northeastern portion of the property that are now part of the overall development plans for the Eagle Ridge subdivision. So then this brings us to the amendment itself. Being part 1 of the amendment is going to essentially remove the H from the previously approved amendment that is shown in map part 5L. And then, so that's removing the H, and then part 2 of the amendment is that then again, deleting the H and reintroducing a new map part 5L to the Township of Yarmouth bylaw. So that can be seen on here. Again, it's showing the previous phases of zoning. The OS2, where the stormwater management and the wooded area is, the R1-81 that includes the previously approved phase. And then these lands, which were previously zoned R1-81, and this is just removing the H off of what was approved previously. However, to address the refinements and additional lands, part 3 of the amendment introduces a new schedule to the bylaw, being map part 5N, and then designates the area shown outlined on Schedule B as R1-81. Again, the previous zoning that was approved, and provides that new designated area is subject to that site-specific amendment being shown in 9.2.2.81 in the bylaw. So that's bringing forward this map part 5N, and again, the refinement around the stormwater management block, and then those 6 new lots that are to the northern portion of the previous phase. And then in anticipation of the eventual consolidation of bylaw 1998 and all amendments to that bylaw, Schedule C is introduced, being schedule map part 5, and includes all the dates that all the changes that have been made to date, including those made by this amendment, which is shown here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I would just ask you to explain, you keep saying remove the H, and I know it's the holding zone, but I just thought maybe you could just explain what the holding zone is so that anyone listening understands what the removal of the H means.
As a holding zone was originally placed on there to ensure the orderly development of the site, and to ensure that there was sufficient capacity within the water and wastewater facilities, the Central Elgins. Ultimately, I guess it was held up previously based on approvals that were pending the Shaw Valley subdivision to the north that's utilizing the services, this subdivision area. Eagle Ridge is utilizing the services. With the extension of those services down Southdale, they're able to clear that condition and move on with the development of this phase.
Thank you. Have you received any written submissions on this proposal?
Madam Chair, no correspondence has been received.
Okay, if you're listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you've called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. The questions will be taken in a sequential order. When given the opportunity to speak, please provide your name and address for the record. I'm now opening the meeting to the public for questions from the public. And we do have Nicole and Darren on, who are involved in this subdivision, to answer questions, as well as Ms. McClure. Mr. Perrin, is there anyone on? No one waiting in the waiting room at all?
People in the waiting room, no raised.
No raised hands. One last call. If you want to speak on this particular one, you need to raise your hand or dial *9. Does any member of council have any questions? Seeing and hearing none. Once again, any member of the public? No, thank you. Everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard. If there are no further questions, please be advised that any person wishing further information on the actions of council regarding the passing of a bylaw on the proposed amendment should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and providing their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. This public meeting is now concluded. Any amendment to the bylaw will be considered at a future meeting of council. The next meeting will start at 6:15, as that is when it is scheduled for. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting for a plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment. It's a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to afford any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed plan of subdivision and a zoning bylaw amendment respecting Karwood, Canterbury Place Extension on lands legally described as Part 3 and 7, Plan 11R-9106 of Lot 32, Unregistered Plan 231, Municipality of Central Logan. Does any member of council have any disclosure of interest concerning this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
Madam Chair, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 120 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on August the 27th, 2022. Notice was posted to the municipal website and notice was displayed in the weekly CE Buzz advertisements.
Thank you. Mr. McClure, our planner, I'm going to call on you now to explain this plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just share my screen. So as has been provided, this is a public meeting for draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment for, I guess, the Canterbury Place Extension in Belmont. The location of the subject lands are shown on the screen just to the east of Canterbury Place, south of Cesar Road, north of the Belmont Community Center, and it's in the kind of southeastern portion of the settlement area of Belmont. So the proposal is looking to introduce or develop 18 lots for single detached dwellings. It's going to be introducing one new street, being Street A, and one reserve block, being Block 19. As can be seen on the screen now, this is the proposed lot layout and lotting pattern for the Canterbury Place Extension. Again, not too sure exactly what the name will be, but that's just how the application has been described. With that, a zoning bylaw amendment is required. There was a site-specific HR1-9 zone placed on the lands previously. Essentially, it was more or less a holding residential zone to allow for future residential uses, similar to the previous application. The H was applied to ensure the orderly development of those lands and to ensure that there was a municipal capacity in the water and sewage wastewater treatment facilities. So as part of this application, they're going to be applying for a new R1-16 zone that would repeal the old zoning, and it would allow for the proposed 18-unit single detached residential development. This brings us to the amendment itself. The first part being that the repealing of the previous bylaw on those lands. And then part two of the amendment, introducing a new schedule to the bylaw, being Schedule A-22, and identifying the area outlined in heavy solid lines on that schedule as R1-16, as can be seen on the screen now. And then this brings us to part three of the amendment, which is adding a new subsection to the residential subsection of the Belmont bylaw, being a new specific section, being 5.2.5.16, identifies the area affected by this amendment as shown on Schedule A-22 as being that R1-16 zone, provides for a minimum lot area for an interior lot as 380 square meters, a corner lot 495 square meters, minimum lot frontage for an interior lot being 12 meters, and a corner lot being 14 meters. Providing that the minimum side yard for, and this kind of gets into some details that are specific to the Belmont bylaw, but if there's an attached garage or carport, minimum side yard is 1.2 meters. If no attached garage or carport, it's 1.2 meters and 3.5 meters on the other side. On a corner lot, it is 1.2 meters and 3.5 meters abutting a public street. Minimum rear yard setback is 7 meters. Maximum lot coverage being 45%. Yard encroachments, providing a specific provision, exception to the Belmont bylaw, saying that decks may project into a required rear yard a distance of not more than 3 meters, so it can extend into that minimum rear yard setback. And then exceptions to the general provisions of the Belmont bylaw, as shown on the screen here, again, dealing with the lot coverage, setbacks, etc., that are requested through this process. And then for part 4 of the amendment, introducing Schedule 2 to the bylaw, being Schedule A to the Belmont bylaw 1991, that consolidates all of the amendments that have occurred to date to that schedule, including those made by this amendment, as shown on the screen. And again, with the area shown kind of in my cursor here on the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Have you received any written submissions on the proposal?
Madam Chair, correspondence has been received from Carol and Kevin Landon, 227 Caesar Road, questioning stormwater maintenance, installation of fencing, root damage to trees, tree removal, and replacement of trees that are being removed. This correspondence was addressed to Brian Lima, the County of Elgin, and copied to my attention. I have circulated to the members of council, municipal staff, planning staff, Paul Hicks, and the County Planning Department.
Thank you. We're going to be opening the meeting to questions from the public. If you're listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you've called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. The questions will be taken in a sequential order. When given the opportunity to speak, please provide your name and address for the record. The meeting is now open to the public, and Mr. Perrin will let me know who has their hand up. Okay, Mike Davis, I see you're on the screen. If you would unmute, Mike, and give us your full name and address, and then speak to the concerns, please.
Sure thing. And good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So my name is Mike Davis. I'm actually a partner with Civic Planning and Design. We're an urban planning and design studio based in London, here this evening representing our client, Karwood Homes, Ontario. So we're the agent for the applicant. Also with me this evening, I just want to make a few comments. I do have Darren Lyle from CJDL with me, who's the civil engineer for the project, and of course, a key member of the consulting team. I will be relatively brief, but just want to draw to your attention a few key points about the proposal itself and the process that our team has undertook to get to this point. We want to thank Mr. McClure for sure for helping us to navigate this application through the process. We have reviewed the preliminary staff report, which was presented at the August meeting, and are in agreement with all of the contents of that report. The site itself is a vacant, undeveloped parcel located immediately adjacent to the existing built area boundary in Belmont. So we saw this as a really logical and appropriate location for new residential growth in the town. As Mr. McClure provided an overview of, the proposal is based around just a minor extension of Canterbury Place eastward across the site, allowing for the creation of 18 new 40-foot wide lots for single detached dwellings. As with any application we deal with in existing developed neighborhoods, we did take the time to talk to neighbors and residents of the area and share our plans for the site. So back in March of 2022, we developed a project website. That was our home base for sharing information with neighbors. We posted our plans, the background studies on the website so residents could access them. To advertise that, we did a mail drop. We sent postcards to over 70 surrounding homes. We held a virtual information session on March 23rd. And then since that time, we've fielded numerous inquiries, email inquiries and responses through our online feedback form. All of that was undertaken with the goal of just trying to be as transparent as possible with residents and helping them to understand how they can participate in the process. So with that, I'll wrap up. I appreciate your time and consideration this evening, and I'm definitely available to answer any questions on behalf of the project team. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else, Mr. Perrin, waiting to speak?
No.
No one else has raised hand. Does any member of council have any questions? Councillor Rowe?
You, Madam Mayor, I was just wondering if there had been any feedback given to the Landons for their letter yet, or if that is going to be happening. I don't think it's something that we need to talk about here because we don't have the site plan specifically, but we should be getting back to them.
Would it be logical for to share that correspondence with Mr. Davis as well so that they could respond, because some of it's very specific? Mr. Perrin?
The county is the approval authority, and I believe the correspondence was addressed to the county, so we would defer to the county to respond back.
Thank you. Mrs. Wilson?
In addition, Madam Mayor, Mr. Davis was, he did email today asking if any correspondence had been received, and we did advise him of the land and correspondence.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from council? Are there any other questions from the public? We haven't had any, but are there any? No one with a hand up? Thank you. Everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard. If there are no further questions, please be advised that any person wishing further information on the actions of council regarding the passing of a bylaw on the proposed amendment should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and providing their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. This public meeting is now concluded. Any amendment to the bylaw will be considered at a future meeting of council.